Hey fabulous friends, I'm Scarlett Sparks, designer of Palm Patterns, and in this video we're going to look at sewing an applique to the classic palm gauntlet for a beautiful romantic style. Since the pattern is designed for stretch fabrics, I made a couple of quick adjustments first to the pattern to accommodate the non-stretch applique, and you can find full instructions for that over on my blog at palmpatterns.com. Once we have our pattern adjusted and the main fabric cut out, we're going to prepare for sewing by adding a bit of stability to the stretchy fabric, which will make it much easier to sew. You can purchase different kinds of stabilizers for embroidery and appliques, but an inexpensive option that I've used here is just to temporarily fuse a bit of tracing paper to the back side of my fabric using washable Elmer's glue. To set the glue quickly so it doesn't get everywhere while I'm sewing, I just pressed it with a warm iron without steam. Next, we'll use the same technique with our floral appliques, temporarily glue basting them exactly where we want them to be sewn. If you're skeptical of using a regular glue stick for this, you could definitely hand baste instead, but the washable glue stick has worked great for me so far, as long as I remember to set it with the iron before sewing so it doesn't gum up my needle. Next, we'll take the work over to the machine. I'm using a narrow and short zigzag, almost like a buttonhole stitch, but not quite as tight, to stitch over the edge of the applique. So one little tip is to try and make sure that your zigzag goes over the edge of the applique, so it'll make a stitch on one side and then a stitch on the other. If you try to stitch like straight through that edge, sometimes the needle can get a little bit stuck, or it can kind of fight you and want to wiggle around. Make sure your needle's down, and then you can raise your presser foot and pivot and start sewing in the other direction. Here, right along this curved edge where I'm going to apply the fold over elastic, I don't want to stitch it down there all the way around because I might need to kind of like flip this back and get the elastic underneath it. So I'm going to leave that edge free. It shouldn't make a difference to the stability of that applique because I've stitched it all the way down the rest of it. And so on the back side, for now, it's going to look like this. You've got all your little zigzag outlining your applique. And on the front, your stitching is pretty much invisible. The fun part now is we get to rip this paper away. And there we go. We've got our applique all stitched down. It's nice and smooth. And to see how we're going to finish up the gauntlet construction, check out my next video about applying the fold over elastic. See you next time.